Good evening, Bahamas. Coming up tonight.
Labor Minister Shane Gibson says talks of a job fair to be held at Sandals next week makes the recent redundancies even more suspicious. That story straight ahead.
Chamber of Commerce Chief Executive Officer Edison Sumner talks to those Sandals job losses. That story straight ahead.
Statistics on work permits released. That story straight ahead.
Chaos mounted at the international airport this morning because taxi drivers refused their service. That's coming up tonight on our news.
And the PLP ratifies 2 more candidates. Welcome to our news. I'm Christina McNeil. Thanks for joining us. Topping news tonight, days after making more than 600 workers redundant, Sandals Royal Bahamian Resort plans to host a 4-day job fair starting Monday. Labor Minister Shane Gibson says the move only makes the redundancies even more suspicious, and he's questioning the resort's real motives. Simone Davis tells us a little bit more. Simone?
Well, Christina, according to an ad in the newspaper placed by Sandals, the first 2 days of the job fair would be reserved exclusively for those workers who were made redundant on Monday.
However, Gibson asserted that it doesn't make much sense for those workers who were made redundant to have to attend a job fair and reapply for their same positions, and it only leads him to believe that the issue is more than what meets the eye.
If you say that the only reason why you sent people home was because your lawyer advised you that that was the only way you could have dealt with it, because you didn't have an industrial agreement in place that would allow you to lay employees off, then why is it that you would tell that same employee, in order to be reconsidered for a job, you have to be interviewed again and come to the job fair?
On Monday, after those Sandals employees were sent packing, Gibson expressed disappointment in the way Sandals handled the matter by failing to give his ministry proper notice. Today, he added that it's confusing to him because while the resort is paying about $4 million for renovations, more than that had to be paid out to those employees.
It really causes people to wonder what the real reason was behind this. Because as I said to them, when we met with them, even though you didn't have a collective bargaining agreement in place that allowed you to lay employees off, you could have very easily, on a one-to-one basis, asked them, do you mind if I lay you off without pay for 3 months and have you continue employment afterwards? It happens all the time. You can't unilaterally vary somebody's terms and conditions of employment, but you could always vary terms and conditions of employment with consent.
Gibson also said he agrees with the union leaders who expressed outrage at the measures taken by Sandals and called for business owners to respect the unions by consulting with them matters that would have profound impact on workers.
The union has a specific purpose in representing workers in this country. We've legislated laws making it legal for them to represent the workers. So once workers decide that they want a union to represent them, then management should oblige. And there's a process that you use in interacting with the union to make sure that they're able to properly represent them.
The job fair would be held at Christ the King Anglican Church starting on Monday between the hours of 9 a.m. and 4 p.m. Back to you, Christina.
Thanks, Simone. As you know, this is a developing story. Well, the upcoming Sandals job fair is probably an opportunity by the resort to get rid of those employees who haven't been pulling their weight, according to Bahamas Chamber of Commerce and Employers Confederation CEO Edison Sumner. Dana Smith has that angle.
Sumner noted next week's Sandals job fair has its pros and cons. He said the resort will likely use it as a chance to weed out those who they don't want to take back on. And given the number of people who continue to search for work, Sumner said the job fair may also prove to be an opportunity for those who are unemployed and need a job.
Then you would find that employers would probably take that opportunity to weed out persons who they may not wish to re-engage. To get back into the workforce those persons who they feel can add value to their operations, can add value to their business, and to increase their level of productivity, hence increase the level of profitability for those companies. I think the job fair also gives an opportunity for those who want to get into the job market at Sandals in particular.
Sumner said the chamber is never happy to hear when people in the labor force are being displaced. He said the latest jobs figures showed a drop in the unemployment rate, and this latest action by Sandals could result in a significant increase in a single shot. Nonetheless, he said Sandals' commitment to rehire the same number of employees is something to take note of.
So this is one of those cases where hard work, determination, integrity on the job pays off, right? Where those who were potentially slacking off on the job or not giving it their full effort might find themselves on the short end of the stick in this exercise.
Labor Minister Shane Gibson had called on the National Tripartite Council to make it mandatory for proper notice to be given and consultations to take place before redundancies. Well, Sumner said that's a reasonable request and the matter will be discussed.
The employer should notify their employees that this is happening. And that there should also be consultations and notices given to the government that this is going to be happening.
The Chamber of Commerce makes up 1/3 of the National Tripartite Council. Although he was unwilling to pass judgment on Sandals' actions, Sumner noted the resort should have alerted the government and given proper notice about the job losses.
Certainly, based on what we've heard, the level of communication could have been better, right? In that communicating their plans to the Department of Labor, if they had planned these redundancies, certainly the government should have been made aware. And if there was an opportunity to have a discussion beforehand with the Department of Labor, then that should have happened.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Dana Smith.
Thanks, Dana. Well, more than 9,000 work permits were issued by the Department of Immigration last year. The startling figure was revealed by the Department of Statistics this morning. Jasmine Brown has the breakdown in this report. Jasmine?
Thanks, Christina. Officials from both the Department of Immigration and Department of Statistics were on hand today as they released those figures, saying it was a joint effort between both departments to get that report done.
Data highlights regarding work permits data compiled by the Immigration Department but analyzed by the Department of Statistics.
The report, which covers the period January 1st to December 31st, 2015, revealed that the Department of Immigration issued 9,208 work permits. Of that number, 67% or 6,215 work permits were granted to men and 33% or 2,993 were granted to women. The area receiving the majority of work permits was the hotel industry, while the least amount of work permits were granted in the manufacturing industry. The report also gave a breakdown of which nationalities received the most work permits. The majority of work permits were granted to Haitian nationals. That nationality received 36% or 3,360 permits. Next were Jamaicans, who accounted for 1,075 permits. They were followed closely by Filipinos, who accounted for 1,033 permits. Director of Immigration William Pratt says the report highlights certain trends.
I would think that this trend would be similar to previous years. The majority of work permits will be issued to persons in the elementary section, the unskilled.
While the report is not the first of its kind, it is the only work permit report to be released in recent years. Dawkins says they plan to release similar reports on a more frequent basis.
As of 2016, we want to produce the data every quarter, so we should look forward to that being out there by on a quarterly basis.
Now, immigration officials say they will be helping in that effort by implementing an $18.5 million electronic information system. Reporting from the Department of Statistics for Our News, I'm Jasmine Brown. Back to you in studio, Christina.
Thanks, Jasmine. Well, tourists arriving in Nassau were left stranded at Linden-Pinling International Airport this morning as Our News understands that taxi service was suspended for several hours today. The reason? Taxi drivers say they're frustrated with increased competition for fares. Our Giorgio Stirrup was there and filed this report.
Scores of tourists were left standing at the entrance at the Linden-Pinling International Airport this morning as taxi drivers refused to render their service to anyone, saying they're tired of private cars stealing their business. We have a right to be on the store, and there shouldn't be where we have to work in a hostile environment. Every day we come out here, and there's always such a hostile environment. Sometimes it's almost a fist fighting, and it's unfortunate at our gateway, at this main entrance to our country. Our guests have to come here and see us all the time, fussing and fighting with one another over a job, and that's unfair to us.
Taxicab Union President Philip Watkins attempted to defend some of his members, but was quickly interrupted.
For 2 years, we've been fighting back and forth with the Road Traffic Authority.
He refused to tell the minister the problem again. He's the president, but he don't wait to pinch your puppy. Let me be straight with you. I don't know where he just come from. He know the problem here, and this been going on for years, and he refused to tell the minister.
He's working out with the minister, because
right.
The minister did create the problem.
That's right.
And
He's the problem. He's part of the problem. The president of the taxi union.
That's what he does.
He's part of the problem.
He's part of the problem.
Because he knows the problem,
Minister.
but he don't have the testicles to go and tell the minister, get these people up the door.
Taxi drivers then marched in front of the airport, but police officers quickly put a stop to that.
The police in charge here. I'm not in charge. Yeah.
Conduct yourself. What offense am I committing? I'm talking to my colleagues. What offense am I committing?
Taxi driver Wesley Ferguson said it is against the law for private cars to continue to compete with taxi drivers. He called on the Minister of Transport and Aviation to intervene.
According to the law, a livery car or a tow car is supposed to operate from a place of business and have a prearranged job opportunity. At no time is a livery car or a tow car is supposed to be in a lineup with a call-up system. That is a taxi system.
President of the Bahamas Delivery Association, Ellington Ferguson, who represents private car drivers, says taxi drivers could have chosen a better way to express their concerns.
This is a very unfortunate situation that has been brewing for a long time. It is very unfortunate that cab drivers take the route of punishing our visitors. I think that there could have been other ways to look into this. There's been a problem with cab drivers don't believe that the limousine drivers should have access to on-demand visitors.
However, taxi drivers say they are prepared to continue this action as long as it takes.
We ain't finished. This ain't finished yet. No. We're going to go on and we will continue this until the minister do what is right.
Transport and Aviation Minister Glenys Hanner Martin says representatives from the Road Traffic Department visited the airport in an effort to address the matter. Reporting for our news, I'm Georgia Ostara.